Welcome to LinkedUp, Breaking Boundaries in Education, a podcast that focuses on what is happening in education today, connecting everyone to the movers and shakers that are breaking boundaries in the education arena.
Welcome to LinkedUp, Breaking Boundaries in Education. Jerri and Jamie are here and looking forward to this episode today. Jerri, you are finished paying for college, is that right?
Well, not exactly, but
No.
there's always those student loans that have to be paid, which
Yes.
can be, quite
Hard.
a deal.
They're so hard. They're so hard. I've got
They are
two in
so
college.
hard.
They're so hard. I've got two, as you know, in college right now.
Yeah.
We're broke. We're just doing it. But we are trying to avoid the student loans. We just don't want all that interest for our kids. So
If you
it's
can-
rough.
It
It's
is
not
rough.
easy. It's not easy. And so I always try to watch for different tips and suggestions. And the
Yes.
girls do still, even though I have a senior now, they still apply for scholarships. You can get here and there, little ones. But let me tell you, those are so hard to get. So there are so many
Right.
challenges between getting into school, paying for school. And we're going to dig into some tips and suggestions with our guest today, aren't we?
We are. We have Dr. Kuni Beasley with us today, and he is one of those people that can help you maneuver that system. And I think that is so important because, we went to college and then 25 years later, your kids are going to college and you don't remember how to maneuver the system or it's
Yeah.
all changed. And it's really a barrier for people.
It
And
is.
so we're happy to have Dr. Beasley with us, who he told us to call him Kuni. So
Kuni.
that's what we're going to do. So Kuni, welcome. And we are so
Thank you.
excited to have you here
Thank
today.
you.
Yes, and sharing some ideas about how we can help kids get into college and do it successfully without coming out so far in debt.
Yeah.
So let's just start with you telling us, how did you get involved in this?
I really got involved when I was going to college. Actually, I went to a military school for high school. I graduated early because I wanted to take the financial burden off my parents. I had scholarships while I was in military school.
Oh,
And so, and then when it came time for me to apply for scholarships, we had a very good college prep. I mean, half of my graduating class went to the Naval Academy. And so everybody in our class, except I think one person, got significant scholarships to college. I had 11 full scholarship offers. And then I was nominated for West Point, but I was too young to go. You have to be 17.
right.
I was 16 when I started college.
Oh
So, anyway, so they offered me an ROTC scholarship and they said, pick your school, we'll pay for it. So I picked Texas Christian University. They paid for it. And so
Wow.
from then on, I started to figure out ways how to pay for my college. And then one of my first assignments in the Army, I was a test control officer. One of the challenges I got was how to help Army enlisted people get college credit and college degrees. And so I developed this program that was eventually adopted. And one of the colleges up in New York, Excelsior College, which at that time was called New York Regents, was able to provide credits and diplomas for people in a very easy way. It's not easy than it's simple, but it was more accommodating to people who were in the Army. And so they began to use that. And then fast forward a few years, I got my master's degree while I was on active duty, went to college, went to school at night. I actually finished it in 50 weeks. So kind of a record. And then I left active duty, got a job in corporate America, worked on my PhD. And then kind of in the middle of my PhD, I decided to go to seminary. So I was actually doing 2 doctorates at one time. And then I finished my seminary degree before I finished my PhD, and then finished my PhD.
You finished both?
No, I finished both. Yeah, I finished both of them. I finished my seminary doctorate in 1998 and my PhD in 1992. I had a tough time getting my dissertation through committee. That's another story. By that time, I was married, I had some stepkids, and I said, okay, I'm going to figure a way out for not have to pay for college. We sent the first one to college on a full scholarship. In fact, when all of the money cleared the first semester, we got a check back for $1,500. So they paid us $1,500 to send it there. Now, that's happened to me several times, by the way. Okay. Then I started working with her friends, and people offered to pay me to do this. And I said, I might as well start making money doing this. And so I started making money doing this. Now, at the same time, I started my own private school. And at one time, I had 22 branch campuses across the country, from Springfield, Massachusetts to Hot Springs, Arkansas to Palm Springs, California. And we had 22 schools, and we were putting kids into college on scholarship. And then it just got too big. And we downsized in 2011 to the point right now that we only maintain one online school right now. And the other schools have spun off on their own because it just got to be too big. I spent 182 days on the road in 2010. I just couldn't do that. So we took the college prep portion, we made it available to the general public, and then that portion of the business took off. So parents will hire us essentially if they want to get their kid into an Ivy League, service academy, or seek a top scholarship. And they'll come to us. And we also handle kids on the other end, kids who, for whatever reason, are having issues. We have a program to kind of bring them up to speed. And we have different strategies for different people. No matter what your situation is, we have a strategy you can follow to get your college degree by paying little or no money, or taking, little or no loans out. I'm not a big proponent of loans, but there are some strategies that are good for loans. And those are some of the things we cover with them. It's not really magic. I mean, when you go to your physician and he gives you a pill and you're cured, it's not magic. It means we have the prescription. There are multiple prescriptions that you can do regardless of your situation.
And you do have the prescription, because I read that you have raised over $300 million for, or helped kids obtain.
Right. Yeah. And we've had several $1 million babies. Our top kid was $1.72 million in scholarship offers, 16 full scholarship offers.
Where do you start with something like this?
We will start as early as the 6th grade. Our soft spot, there's a soft spot is first semester sophomore year. I mean, if you start with us first semester sophomore year, you have time to get everything done. Anytime you start after that, we don't have as much time. Either you're going to have to double up or things will fall off the plate. So, But it all depends on what your trajectory is. What are you shooting for? Are you shooting for a competitive college, conventional college, community college, or some type of creative college? Depends on what you're looking for. We can package this thing up because we have a 3-pronged strategy. We have a preparation strategy for your finances, your academics, your success skills, such as time management stuff, and then your testing strategy. You're going to take AP, you're going to take IB, and then we have what's called a packaging strategy with your grades, your recognitions, your experiences, your activities, and your test scores. And then we have what's called positioning strategies, how we're going to select the colleges, how we're going to go through the admissions process, how we're going to find funding, and then how do we move the kid to the front of the line on top of a stool? Okay. How do we enhance and enrich them so that makes them more attractive to colleges? And so we have this packaged up, and depending on what the student is, what the ambitions are, we guide them through this process. Now, we also try to work on their ambitions, because some kids will come in and say, I want to go to an Ivy League, and they get a 2.5 and said, the only way you're going to get into an Ivy League is if you go as a tourist, because you're not getting in with a 2.5. Okay.
Right.
But if you're willing to do the work and go to community college, there is a way to get in.
Oh.
So you give them hope.
The only person that doesn't have hope is the person unwilling to do the work. I mean, I was sharing with you earlier about my wife. When I met her, she was a high school dropout. And in 2014, she graduated with honors from Harvard University. Yes, that Harvard.
Wow.
And my total cost of Harvard was about $22,000. Most of that was the apartment in Cambridge. So I put her and both her daughters through college for less than $30,000.
Oh my gosh.
Wow.
That's
There's ways of doing it.
It is true that I always hear there is money out there. The money is there. But like I said, it's been really tricky to get that money. So what are some techniques for finding the right scholarships, the right offers out there, applying for them, and actually being seen to get them?
Well, the best technique we've come up with is to contact us through our website.
Right.
Okay. No, but see, what happens is most people who are in this so-called college, counseling business, they're not professionals. They're essentially ambulance drivers. They know how to get you to one of the locations, but they're not able to do heavy duty surgery. They don't know most of the stuff. I mean, if you would go to your high school counselor and ask them to name the Ivy League colleges, I will doubt they'll get it all correct. Most people can't name the Ivy League colleges. And so you're dealing with people who don't know, because the people who are in your high school counseling positions, they didn't get the big scholarships. They don't know how to get the big scholarships. They know how to get them out the door in May. And so they have no idea how it's done. And so one of the reasons when I moved here and the parents hired me was because they weren't getting the information they were from the people on the staff at the school. So they come to me to get the information. And so we've got several of them on the way. We've already put several into service academies, full scholarships. It's like when you go to your doctor, he really doesn't do anything for you. He figures out what you need and writes your prescription, tells you what you need to do. And that's what we do is we say, okay, if you really want to go to an Ivy League school, you're going to have the grades, you're going to have the test scores, and we can get you in. Same thing with the military academy. I've had homeschoolers get into the military academies, homeschoolers get into the Ivy Leagues. And so you've just got to make sure that they're prepared, they're packaged, and you get them positioned to take advantage of those. So it's not as hard as people think it is. It's just that nobody really knows how to do this. There's maybe a handful of us. I'm going to say about 25 in the entire country who can handle it at this level.
Right. And so just getting a hold of you and using your expertise can help people to move forward, because it seems like you were talking about the high school counselors, they have so much on their plate with social emotional, they have college, they have, it would be hard for them to dig in. And then the number of kids that they see, it's really hard for them to dig in at the level that you can.
And again, a lot of places, their counselors they're not taught how to do this.
No.
They're taught essentially to get them out the door in May. It's
Right.
not part of their agenda to get you into an Ivy League. Now if you get in, they'll take credit, but it's not. It's they're not rated on how high of colleges you get your kids into. They're rated on how many get out the door in May.
Right. Absolutely. Do you help with test prep as well?
Oh yeah. My test prep program has been used in almost 30 states, the public school system. It used to be marketed by the University of Arkansas on how to beat the test. In fact, just prior to this, I was working a coaching session with a student on how to beat the test. We use strategies, tactics, and techniques, how to score higher in tests. I've had students jump 400 points on the SAT in 2 months. I had some students, my record is 6 weeks and 9 points on the ACT. Because we teach them how to beat the test, not some, we've had 7th graders scoring a 90th percentile on SAT and ACT because we teach them how to beat the test. And there's a way to beat the test. I mean, the College Board knows me by name. They hate me because I teach people how to beat the test. So, I mean, even the new digital one came out. We were pretty much ready 6 weeks after it came out. Once we got the material, now we know how to beat it. And so we'll start working with the students on how to beat the test. And so, we do that.
Can you give us the glimpse at one little thing that might help somebody to do better on the test without giving away trade secrets?
Well, I would have to actually go through a test, but the number one thing you want to do is start early. Okay. And freshman year, sophomore year, take the SAT just to get the test experience. Now, colleges will always take your highest score. It doesn't matter if you take it your freshman year and blow it. We want you to get the test maturity, get through the stress, because that causes people the most problems when they try to score high is the stress and the pressure. So get in there and get used, become a veteran and getting into the combat zone and taking the test. Don't worry about your score until your junior year. So start taking the test early. We have a process where you take the test early. Now, when you take the test, you can't do this with the SAT anymore, because the SAT, you used to be able to get a copy of your test 3 times a year. They don't do that anymore with the digital test. And I think the digital test is going to have some significant problems. But when you're working with the ACT, the September, April, and June ACTs, you can get a copy of your test and your answers. That becomes an incredible tool on how to increase your score. Plus ACT, which is what we generally favor. About 70% of our kids will shift over to ACT because they have 4 components. They super score. So one test, you may have a higher science score, higher math score. They'll take your conglomerate score, it's called a super score. And it's possible to significantly increase your scores over, let's say, the spring of your junior year. You get your go to college scores by June. We have a checklist that we use. That we go through step by step. You need to do this. You need to do this. And the only people that have failed our program are the people who didn't do the work. And nothing to do with their intelligence, whatever. They just didn't do the work. I mean, I'm counseling 3 students this week saying, you didn't do the work. You just blew your opportunities because you didn't do the work. I told you to send this in by this date. You didn't. A lot of the stuff in college, there's no redos. Okay. If you miss the plane, every opportunity on that plane's gone. Like if you don't get your stuff ready for the PSAT, all of the opportunities for the PSAT are gone. You're never going to take it again. There's not a next time for that, because not just the National Merit Scholarship of the PSAT, but you have the National Hispanic Recognition, National African American Recognition, National Indigenous, National Small Town Rural Recognition. Okay. Now you have colleges like University of Alabama, University of Kentucky, Florida International offer full scholarships for people to get this recognition. I had one girl, her sophomore year, got the National Hispanic Recognition based on the PSAT 10. And then she took the PSAT and got National Rural Recognition. So she got 2 recognition, and she's right now, I think Seton Hall just offered her $100,000 scholarship, and she's probably going to go to Florida International, which has offered her full tuition, room and board, things like that. Because, because first off, you've got colleges that need to maintain their diversity quotient. And in order to maintain their diversity quotient, they're going to offer Hispanics, Indigenous, whatever, more scholarships in order to bring that. They want the ones who have proven themselves through competition to be good students and bring them in. So they're going to offer money to bring them in.
Sure.
So when you target colleges, your scholarships, you want to target the schools that give you money, not the schools that don't give you money. And there's plenty of very good schools. University of Kentucky. I've had 2 students on full scholarship there. Alabama, I've probably had over 100 students get the full scholarship in Alabama, because they're low-hanging fruit. You need a 32 ACT and a 3.5 GPA, you get $112,000 scholarship.
So I think what I'm hearing too is that not only do you need to know where these scholarship opportunities live and exist, which is tricky. I still get emails of organizations that collect all of these different scholarship opportunities. And, some in STEM, some in, a variety. And they're really widespread. So it was a great opportunity for my daughters to use that list and find some that appealed to them and met, with their, met them where they are. But what you're also saying is the trick is to see how there's a match also with particular schools, because certain schools have different opportunities. Is that right? For providing money?
You're talking primarily about private scholarships. These are offered by organizations and stuff. We really don't focus on that because the big money is with the institutions. If you go to the institutions and find out which institutions offer the full scholarships, then those are the ones you want to target and get to the metrics that are going to get you the top scholarship. For example, a lot of your flagship colleges do not offer big scholarship because they don't need to. Colleges offer scholarships in order to attract people. If they've got a waiting list, they don't need to pay people to come there. Where in Texas, where I live, the 2 flagship colleges are University of Texas and Texas A&M. They don't need to offer significant scholarships because they got a waiting list. Now, if you go to the regional colleges in Texas, such as University of Texas at Dallas, University of Texas at San Antonio, they offer large scholarships. So it is possible to be that what would get you admitted to the University of Texas would get you a full scholarship in one of the regional colleges. And so we begin to target the regional colleges because that's where you're going to get the money. Then you'll also have your flagship colleges like Kentucky, LSU, Alabama, who offer art scholarships, and they need that because they have to balance out, because a lot of those colleges are land grant colleges, and by law, they have to take the farm boys. But in order to maintain their profile, they got to keep their numbers up. And so they will offer money to people who will bring their good numbers with.
That's interesting. Both of my girls have merit scholarships, I guess. Is that something different?
Yeah, the merit scholarships are what we focus on primarily.
Okay. So that's the same thing. Okay.
Yeah, but you want to target schools that are going to give you the big merit scholarships. Okay.
Right.
You don't want to have to spend a lot of money. So most of the kids that we work with, we're shooting for full scholarships, or what we call full rides, which include tuition fees, room and board. So we want to work on full rides and stuff. And a lot of times they're not going to be at the high profile colleges. They're going to be at the regional colleges or the smaller colleges. But, go to a smaller college and get it all paid for versus, having to go in debt up your eyeballs to go to a high profile college. It doesn't do you any good. A lot of people think we're going to take the debt and, it's going to amortize itself because we're going to a higher profile college. There's not one single study that's proved that. In fact, there are studies that disprove that. And I don't know if you're familiar with the Kruger study. The Kruger study was in 1972. They took 50 years and tracked the people. They took a group of people who were admitted to Harvard, tracked those who went to Harvard, and tracked those who didn't go to Harvard. And after 40 years, there was no significant difference in success, income, or whatever. There's nothing that's proved by saying, I'm going to, and if you look at some of the, what we call ROI scales, return on investment, if you look at some of the high profile private schools, your ROI is very low. Your higher ROIs are going to be with your state schools. You're going to be, of course, your service academies have 1,000% ROIs because you don't pay for anything and you get everything. And so what we try to do is get people in the same category. For example, if you get an ROTC scholarship, you will get into that ROI bracket because you're not paying anything, or maybe not paying very much for college, but your ROI is huge. But you go to some of the private colleges that are expensive, a lot of people who take out loans for those, particularly now, they take out loans that are costing them $70,000, $80,000 a year. They're never going to be able to pay those off in their lifetime. They're going to have to use their life insurance to pay it off.
Yeah, no, it's terrible. It's terrible. I just wanted to avoid that for my daughters. There are other ways that, they can get credit. They can do that sort of thing. I need to get a student loan to do that. I mean, the rates are crazy. It's just, not a great thing. It's hard. It's so hard.
Yeah.
But then how do you, if there are some families who can't, pay it all, they don't get the colleges that they expected. You mentioned community college. I've seen a huge trend. Hey, community colleges are fantastic. So is that often a route that you?
Oh yeah, the last two people I got into Harvard went to community college.
Right, you said that. Wow. That's fantastic.
In fact, my wife went through Harvard, went to community college, transferred to Harvard on the Phi Theta Kappa scholarship, which was a full scholarship. I paid $596 your first semester at Harvard.
Is that going up? Is that a trend?
I do see a trend. But again, let me backtrack for a second. When you're talking about money for college, we actually use the acronym MONEY. There's 5 different ways to get money for college. Number 1, M, merit money for athletics, academics, artistic. I mean, we had a girl get a full scholarship to UCLA in theater. So, artistic affiliation, association, are you in a particular ethnic group or population group, or are you affiliated to a Rotary Club or something like that? Next is opportunity money. These are ways that, perhaps, your employer may pay for college. You get an ROTC scholarship. You have work study. You have an employer on the other side once you graduate that's going to pay off your loans. Look at opportunity money that way. Then you have need-based money.
Right.
Need-based does not mean needy. Need-based means the difference between what you're expected to pay and what the college costs. I mean, I had 3 people in college at the same time, one at Harvard and 2 in state colleges in Texas. And when I did my FAFSA, it came back to set, I need to be able to pay out of pocket $36,000. I assure you that year, I didn't pay anything out of pocket like $36,000, but I also qualified for $36,000 of need-based debt because my college bill was $72,000.
Right.
And so we got Pell Grants and we got all these other grants that filled up that need-based thing. And then we had scholarships and other things that we did that took care of the other $36,000. And one year my daughter was at Texas Tech. We got $12,000 back. I had $12,000 more than it cost to go. There was one year at Harvard that we got back well over $10,000 because what they reimbursed us for the difference between what we had to pay and what grants and everything else that we got. And so they sent us a check. Actually, it was 3 checks. Can this happen to everybody? No. Okay. But there are some people who, if they play the game correctly, pay attention, follow instructions, do the work, that this will play out for them. This is not a genie in a bottle, or people thinking, I'm going to give Dr. Beasley a call and then my mailbox will be full of checks. There are people who actually think that, but there's a process you have to go through. And if you stick with the process, you're going to get better and you're going to have more opportunities, but it requires work. And the biggest problem we have is we encounter a lot of people who are unwilling to do the work. They do a lot of wishing, but they don't do a lot of working.
Did we do the E? What is the E in money?
E is entitlement money. Okay.
Okay.
Now, entitlement money there are certain things that people are entitled to, they don't realize. In fact, every American citizen and legal resident is entitled to some form of government aid. Now, that could be a loan, that could be work study, some form of government aid. Okay. If you're in the military, there's an entitlement. You're entitled based on getting in-state or in-district tuition. That's an entitlement. There are people who, are deaf or blind or something like that. In Texas, we have a thing called the Hazelwood Act. And Hazelwood Act says that if you're a veteran, you entered from Texas, you came back to Texas, you're exhausted your GI Bill, you get to go to college for free, state college for free. Okay. Plus your spouse can go for free and your kids can go for free. That's what the two daughters, most of them, we use the Hazelwood Act for them to go to state colleges for free. Okay. Then there's why your own money. Now, every college will take your check, your money order, credit card. Okay. But we want to minimize that. So we look at ways, how do we accumulate credits? How do we use what we call the dog leg, go through community college to accumulate credits, so inexpensive credits. And so, do we take CLEP exams? Do we go to a more creative college? Some of these online colleges. So we're looking at different ways. And so we want to minimize your out-of-pocket expense.
Yes.
And we've had more than our share of students who have gone to college, used our strategies, and had net revenue every year from college, which means they made more money than it cost to go to college.
Crazy, but good.
I know.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's out
Crazy good.
Yeah, it's
Crazy,
out. But
crazy
again, most of the people don't know about this. Most of your college counselors, high school counselors don't know about even the people who are supposedly in the industry.
Right.
They don't know. Most of them are ambulance drivers, and maybe some of them can do CPR, but beyond that, they really don't know, because a lot of them are what we call loan arrangers. They will just set you up so that you can get the loans. I mean, we had a case. I'm going to tell you a horror story here. I used to be in a building, and there were like two of these loan arrangers on the same floor as I was. They had better marketing than I did. So they would get these people in. Well, I was holding one of my conferences in the boardroom. So one person walked in thinking that's where he was supposed to go and sat in my conference, and I was getting him set. But then the loan arranger shows up, drags him out, takes him back to his office and says, tells him, well, we've got you set up for loans. There are no scholarships, and, that's a typical thing. And so he came back to me and he says, I was hearing what you were saying. You're talking scholarship. They said there was no scholarship. I said, we'll set up an appointment. Well, we set up an appointment, and nobody asked for his daughter's GPA, didn't ask for test scores or anything like that. So, she had good GPA, good test scores. We sent her application off to Alabama. 2 weeks after he had met me, Alabama offered her $100,000 scholarship, and she applied to the University of Texas at Dallas. They gave her a full scholarship. I said, you want to get some more? And she goes, no, I'm satisfied. I'll go to University of Texas at Dallas. I've got a full scholarship. And these other people had no idea these things existed. So you have a lot of people. I have a little test that if people want it, that says, give this to the person giving you college advice. And if they don't get a 95 on this, they don't know what they're doing. I mean, one of the things I say is ask them how much of the parents' assets are counted on the FAFSA. If they can't answer that, they don't know what they're doing. I don't know. It's like the doctor doesn't know the bones in the forearm.
Right.
There's a lot to it. There certainly is.
Yeah.
What about actually getting the degree? You mentioned there are hacks to that. What does that mean? How does that work?
Well, a couple of hacks. It depends on what your purpose for the degree is. Now, if you're going to go to medical school, you don't want to hack your degree. Okay.
Right. Please no.
But I work with a lot of adults, returning adults, who hit the glass ceiling at 30, 40 years old, and they just need a degree. It doesn't matter what it is. So what we do is we figure out, my record is 6 months. We did have a person I worked with who went from scratch to he had an extra gene. He taught himself Mandarin Chinese in 6 weeks. So he had an extra gene. Now, most of the people I work with, we can do it within a year to a year and a half, depending on how much previous college work they have. And then there are just channels that we can go through to accumulate the credits, stockpile the credits, then have a particular college take those credits, and then you may have to do 4 or 5 courses at that college to legitimately get a degree from. And these are all real, most of them state colleges, they're accredited, and you'll get your degree. So there's ways of, there's CLEP exams, Dante exams, Thomas Edison College has their exams. There's just, the person would have to come to me, and we would, because there's no one size fits all. It's like a doctor giving everybody the same prescription. No, we got to come in, find out their situation, what they have. We craft the strategy around what they need to do. And tell them, if you want to do X, it's going This is what you have to do. B, it's going to do this way. W, you're going to do this way.
We talked about, hack to getting a degree, as you just mentioned. We talked about different colleges that might help in providing different aid, those opportunities, and really looking there for the money. But then what about no college at all? What about, I mean, not
Yeah,
everyone wants to go to colleges. So what are like the other opportunities that you share with your clients who, maybe college isn't it? And it
Well,
doesn't have to be.
it doesn't have, I'm a big proponent with Mike Rowe of Dirty Jobs. He has a scholarship
Right.
program, a bunch of stuff. My niece's son went to one of his programs, got funding to be a welder. And if that's what you want to do, there's nothing, somebody's got to weld, okay? And so
My husband told my daughter, "Hey, be a plumber." There aren't many
that's
females
right.
in that industry. Yeah,
You want
you know?
you want to get a statistic? This is a study that was done. You take two people, 18, graduate from high school. One goes to vocational school, becomes a plumber. One goes to college, then goes to med school, then gets his internship and residency. And at 30 years old, the plumber has built his business, got 6 plumbers working for him. Okay, got 6 trucks out there. The plumber is making $250,000 a year, which is
Yeah.
almost $100,000 more than that doctor is.
Yeah.
Because most of
Yeah.
the guys who enter in are making about 150,000 first year, second year.
Yeah.
Does
And-
not surprise me. Does not surprise
Well-
me. But also you mentioned, has a successful business, this person who didn't go to college, but there are some certificates that people can get, right? So
There's
whether they're really good at plumbing, but like running the business, they need to work on. So you can get some
Mhm.
business certificates, right? To
you
match.
can take small business classes. There's plenty of opportunity for people who, I deal with about 10-15% of people who, they come to me, they think they want to go to college and then they don't. Now, a lot of times I will recommend that they go in the military because first off, they're going to get 3 hots on a cot. And instead of paying the community college to become an aviation technician, they're going to train you on being an aviation technician.
Right.
And then
right.
when you're done, you've got you've got the GI Bill, and if you're from Texas, you got the Hazelwood Act, and you've got all these privileges and benefits and stuff like that. Now, the other thing is if you go into the military and you've got student loans, they'll pay off your student loans. If you're going to medical school, if you get admitted to the medical school and otherwise qualified to become an officer, they will pay for your medical school and pay money stipend while
Right.
you're going through medical college.
Oh,
And plus,
wow.
military has its own medical college, Uniformed Services University, that you go. In fact, I'm working with a student right now. I have 4 students. I'm working on medical school right now because I do medical school, law school, that kind of stuff. So we have a lot of people that they want to get on track to go to medical school, and we do some eye-opening things. Like, for example, a lot of people will turn their nose up for going to a DO school versus an MD school. I don't difference between DO and MD. Okay. A lot of people will turn their nose up saying, but the DO faction of the medical field has exploded. Most of the new medical schools opened up are DO schools, and people don't realize that, number one, Donald Trump's White House position was a DO, and Joe Biden's White House position is a DO.
Oh, there you go.
Okay. In fact, I just had somebody put that in their essay, to DO school. So that's an emerging area right now. So, we look at that, and there's a lot of colleges that have what we call on-ramps. So if you go to college for your bachelor's degree, they're associated with a medical school, and your on-ramp is real easy.
Right. Yes.
So there's just different strategies to take there, because it gets down to what are your goals, what are the strategies, and what are you willing to work for? And that's the
Yes,
big
and
one.
that's-
A lot of people, they're not willing to do the work, or they're willing to do some of the work, but not all of the work. And some of the work doesn't work. Okay.
Right,
pumping up
yeah,
a tire
right.
only to half its PSI doesn't make the tire work. So
Right.
it's going to the work. And so most of the students that were in that pool that got 300 million, they get the work. They qualified for all kinds of funding because they were willing to do the work. But if you're
Yeah.
on the other hand, listen, I had a girl who just couldn't get her test score up, just tried hard, cried, everything. And so we sent her to junior college. And she was
Yeah.
Phi Theta Kappa, which is the Junior College Honor Society. And if you're Phi
Right.
Theta Kappa and you transfer to Harvard under the extension school, they will give you a full scholarship at Harvard.
Wow. There are a variety of options, a variety of paths, multiple paths. So it's just
Mhm.
about knowing what they are, taking advantage of them, but most importantly, putting in the work and the, you got to be persistent in doing it and not just,
Right.
Mhm.
Yeah.
surface work. It's got to be
You've got to
continual.
do you've got to do the right work the right way at the right time. I mean,
Yeah.
when you start getting into this process, once you hit your junior year, deadlines become incredibly important. And I've had so many
Mhm.
people miss opportunities because they busted a deadline. I mean, a couple of weeks ago, I had one student. I told them what to do, gave them the deadline. They kept telling me they'll get it out, and I checked with them. You didn't get it out, did you? No, and I said you just lost all your California colleges.
Yeah.
You just lost them.
Yeah.
The opportunities. You that's not a I'll get it again. It's just you missed that plane. Every opportunity on that plane is gone. Okay. It's very important that you be able to encapsulate and capture your opportunities because once you start your junior year, those opportunities do not recycle. You got a one
Right.
shot. You get on the boat then, or you're not getting on.
Do you run into families where the parents want it and
I was
the
going to
child
ask
doesn't?
that, Jerry. Yeah.
Yes, all the time. You have the parents who
Like
are
that.
very ambitious, who want their kids to go blah, blah, blah. And then the kid says, I really don't want to do this. And I said, you know, we're going to you have to come to a meeting of the minds. You cannot try to live yourself vicariously through your kid.
Yeah.
Right.
You want to push,
Right.
there's a certain amount you should be pushing your kids on. And then beyond that, you're starting to grind them into the dirt. So
Right.
the kids have got to have the design. I mean, I went into the line, particularly what we're dealing with military academies. You've got parents who want their kids to go to the military academies. And you got the kids who say, I'd like to go there if I don't have to do any work. And I said, you're not doing the work. And, I mean, when people are on our program at about a 90-day point, if they're not making progress, we drop them. Okay. Because there's no point. I mean,
Right.
I
Right.
tell parents this, I'm tired of sending you an email every Monday telling you how much work your kid didn't do.
Right.
Said, I'm not doing
Right.
that. Okay? After 90 days, boom, we're not, no point. Okay. There's no point in you paying us to send that email every Monday because the kid's not doing the work. I don't know what to tell you, but that's, that kid
Well,
is not going to West Point.
and I also, what I think is interesting too is in those cases, and you probably come across this, parents end up doing the work for the kids. And that's never going to help anyone,
Well,
down
they,
the line.
they try to. And I said, okay, that's not going to work. You're going to go in and take their
Yeah.
SAT for them. It's
Right.
not going to work.
Exactly.
You're going to try to do all this stuff. And if you don't make your kids self-reliant, you can do all the work and they'll be home at Christmas and you'll have a loan that you have to pay off.
Yeah.
Right.
Well,
Yes.
60% of the people who start college don't finish.
Oh, is
Really?
it 60%? Really?
Yeah, 60% who start college don't finish. The difference
Yeah.
between the kid who starts college and doesn't finish and the kid who doesn't go to college is the kid who starts college still got a loan to pay off.
Yeah. Yeah.
So you have to be very
Right.
careful because, there's a lot of people that, a lot of parents who tie their ego to where their kid goes to college.
Right.
And you know what? It really doesn't matter where your kid goes to college. A lot of people begin to think, the curb appeal and, I want to brag that my kid is at this expensive school while we're at home eating beans and rice. Okay. There's no school worth taking a huge loan out for. There is no school that's worth going through the financial sacrifice because it will never amortize. Not one single study will show that paying that much money will amortize and get your ROI. It's
Yeah.
a bad business decision.
Yeah, it is. It's important. It is important.
Yeah.
Right.
Now, if you can get to a higher profile school and get it paid for, that's fine.
Get it.
Okay.
Right. That's
One of the
right.
reasons why we chose Harvard because that was the cheapest one to go to. We had the best deal from them. I mean, $594, $96 the first semester. That's a good deal. Okay.
Yeah.
That was cheaper than what it was costing me to put her in the community college. So that there's but the people need to realize there are ways of dealing with this. There's no instant thing here. There's no, I used to put this slide up. I said, okay, I got the addresses where you're going to get all of the money you need. So the first one I popped up, Santa Claus, North Pole. Okay. And then I said, Peter Cottontail knocking down the rabbit trap. And the last one I said, this one doesn't require a stamp. Just put it under your pillow and ask the tooth fairy to pay for it.
Yeah.
Okay. Because a lot of people, they're on both ends of the spectrum. There's nothing there or there's something easy. It just takes a phone call and then there's the checks in my mailbox. And no, there is something in between. In some cases, it's not as hard as you think it is. In other cases, it may be, you're going to have to adjust your drink.
Yes.
Yeah.
This has been wonderful information, really eye-opening about what's out there and what what you should think about as a
Uh-huh.
parent or a student going forward. How do people get a hold of you? I mean, do you
Okay.
have to live, you live in Texas. Do they have to be in
No,
Texas?
no, no. I have students, clients in Namibia, it's in South
Oh,
Africa, Baku, Azerbaijan,
oh my
Korea,
goodness.
all over the world, Nepal. As long as we have an internet connection, I can do, because the vast majority of my students are not from Texas.
Oh,
As long as we have an internet connection, I can. I mean, I've dealt with students from Canada, Mexico, all over the place, and so as long as we have an internet connection, I can work with. In fact, the business itself, the college prep business itself, is headquartered in Frederick, Maryland. I'm just down here because came down here to coach football. Okay, so I'm most likely not be staying here permanently. I'm looking for the next place to go. But Audra, who's the CEO of the company, she runs the main part of the business out of Frederick, Maryland. And
oh,
my second business, which is an online college prep academy for homeschoolers, that's run out of Houston. So where I am, and where our people are, I mean, people scattered all over the place. It doesn't really matter. So they just need to go to my website, Beasley College Prep .com. They can set up and get a free consult. But I do have to put a caveat in here because we did have a stampede one time. Put the name out and there was just a stampede of people. So if we have a stampede, then we'll do a webinar for them, special webinar for them. But
smart.
if they're one-offs and stuff, we can handle a one-off initial consult and, at least get them pointed in the right direction and tell them,
Yeah.
that the world is round, not flat, and get them some orientation on that.
Yes. Wow. That
Very
is
nice.
great. I've learned so much today. Thank you. I know people will really appreciate this podcast because it is eye-opening and makes you think about a lot of different things. So we appreciate you
options.
being on today.
Thank you for having me.
Yes, absolutely.
Thank you for listening. And if you would like to stay linked up, be sure to follow us on Apple and Spotify and subscribe to us on YouTube.